Hi, my name is Sasha Moore, and I'm delighted to be here today with Beck Timms from Realise Home Loans. Welcome, Beck.
Thanks for having me, Sasha.
Of course. So I'm so excited to speak to you today. This is the first pre-webinar interview that I'm doing in anticipation of the October webinar, Embracing Your Authenticity. So it's about how can you tap into your power of your authentic self to really be superhuman, to really create your optimal outcome, to create your optimal environment. And as part of those pre-webinar interviews, I'm having a chat with different people in industry about how they have embraced their authentic self. And really what I find interesting about your story, Beck, is that was a very deliberate pathway, and it was a deviation from your career and your life. And then the pursuit of this knowledge, or this pursuit of self-discovery, was quite a commitment for quite some time. So I'm hoping to just get a little bit more insight in terms of why you went on this pathway of self-discovery, and then equally now professionally, how that holds you in good stead.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, I have always had an interest in having a good life, which I think a lot of us do, right? We want to be happy, we want to be healthy, we want to have whatever our own measure of success is. And, I guess for that reason, I initially studied psychology and behavior management. I wanted to learn how to manage my behavior in a way that was going to bring me those things. I went on and I sort of did all of the things that we're meant to do that is meant to make us happy. I got a good job and I got married and I had my properties and we're looking at starting a family, and I wasn't happy. In actual fact, I was, in hindsight, I was very clearly inauthentic in my entire being and operation. I did a lot of what I was doing out of shoulds and should nots. You're meant to be a high achiever. You're meant to be successful. You're meant to be loving in this relationship and assertive in this relationship, but not, emotional in that relationship. And I was consistently acting from these shoulds and shouldn't, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't know the answer. I just knew that I was doing it wrong. And so I guess I made that very deliberate effort. Is that I quit my job, I got divorced, I sold my properties, and I moved into a meditation center. I lived there for about 6 years now, and I did a lot of investigation and inner inquiry into finding, I guess, out who I am or how I think, how I feel, and accepting that. And I think that's probably one of the very first steps, or one of the first things that I've learned in being authentic is, it's, for me anyway, it's a very consistent process of self-inquiry, throughout the day, or at least at the very end of the day, checking in with my inner world and going, hey, what's going on here? Am I feeling pleasant or unpleasant? And if it's pleasant, then there's a good chance that I have been thinking, feeling, acting in accordance with my highest values and with my authentic self. And if it's unpleasant, it's like, okay, well, what went wrong? What happened? Is there an interaction? Is there something that's sitting in me that I need to look at and investigate further? And I guess it's, it's one of those things that if you're happy, say you're happy. And if you're sad, know that you're sad. And I think for me, it's very much authenticity is an inner experience that is then displayed externally, as opposed to having an idea of who I am and who I should be and just acting like that all the time. Is that, yeah?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think it just is that that juxtaposition of perception versus reality. And sometimes your perception is your reality, and that is awesome. But I completely relate to that whole meant should camp. And I recall being very distinctively being in those states, whether that's professionally or personally, and knowing instinctively it was out, but I was so committed to the community or the environment or the family or
Yeah.
the professional circumstances that I felt absolutely encased by, that there was no
Yeah.
other option than to operate within those confines and within those constructs. But I think the difference is once you, as you say, have that reflection of once you recognize them, that's when you can question, do they serve you? And
Yes.
once you get to that scary point of no, it's then
Yeah.
what next? So I'm interested in your perspective of when you had that realization of no, it's not serving me. What's
Yes.
next? Like
What's
whenever I've
absolutely.
had those environments, usually I feel like something's detonated and then major
Yes.
change happens off the back of that. So how is
100%.
that
Yeah.
for you?
Well, I guess for me, I learned that a lot of what I was thinking, feeling, doing was not serving me, and that was very confronting because and I guess from my more Western point of view, like I'd studied behavior management, I knew that you can't just eliminate a behavior; you have to replace it with something, and I didn't know what to replace it with. I just knew it was wrong and it was making me feel like crap, or whatever this thought process was, and so I guess it really, for me, I had to sort of really allow myself to be okay, like, okay, I feel this way or I'm thinking this way. It's not good. And just accept that that's okay first. And then from that going, okay, probably was still like a lot of investigation, a lot of going, okay, well, why? Like, why am I thinking this way? What's coming up that's making me feel this way? Like, am I upset? Surely I'm not upset because this person cut in front of me or this person took my spot. Okay, well, maybe it's an older feeling and really going, okay, well, maybe this actually has nothing to do with this interaction. Maybe it's something else. And go, oh, maybe I'm sad because of something that happened 10 years ago or, and I guess, like, and maybe it's not even that deep. Maybe it's, I don't know, like sometimes it's like, well, I'm just being righteous and I'm allowed to be righteous. And so, like, yes, for somebody, a point where you're like, you can acknowledge, okay, I'm feeling this way, or this has come up and it's not serving me. Maybe looking at even like, well, what would be the more appropriate option? What would serve? If in an ideal situation, how would I be thinking, feeling, or acting? But not when I say ideal, I don't mean from an outer, I mean from shoulds and should nots. I mean from an inner law. What is going to bring me the greatest feeling of upliftment? Like, oh, I just need to accept this. Like, oh, I do need to be empowered. And you go, oh, that feels better. There's an upward shift of energy. I feel like that's probably something that someone could do if they're experiencing that themselves.
And I think that you're right. It's like sometimes things make sense and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you have a disproportionate response and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it just is the moment. But I think the difference is that when you're having a consistent pattern of responses, or you're having a consistent behavior or reaction, that's when things perhaps might be out. And I think you're right, like just calling that and going, you know what, this isn't working or it is working, and just having that awareness. So what I want to do, obviously you've spent a lot of time thinking of this, and I think that there is such a correlation between confidence and authenticity. So really settling in both of those areas in your life. In terms of running your business, how do you find that affects your decisioning or your responses or your coping or your attitude or vision towards the market, opportunities, customers? Like, how does that then translate to better you professionally?
Absolutely. So I guess I've always been a high achiever. I've been in sales for over 10 years. I did door-to-door sales when I was 19, and I loved KPIs, and outer measures. So this is a very strange thing that I've adopted, but has worked real wonders for me. And you know, obviously we need to make money. We're a business, we want to make money, but my measures, my key highest measure is not my revenue. It's not something that's coming through in my software. It is my inner experience of the clear space of good feeling. That is always got to be my measure. And I do that when I'm making appointments, and I go, if I've got the feeling like, oh, I really don't want to go to that meeting, maybe I don't book that in for that day. Like, okay, I've got a gap in my calendar. It doesn't matter. That my inner experience is guiding me somewhere else. And always just of like, oh, well, what does this person think of me if I behave in this way, or if I'm really loud and I laugh and I'm a bit silly, like, or what someone might perceive as not as your typically professional finance person. It doesn't matter, because I am in this clear space of good feeling. And I think that even though nobody else is none the wiser of this, you know, but I think people receive it really well, because they can see that I am being authentic. When I'm with them, I'm fully able to be with them, because I'm not acting out of accordance with my authenticity, and it allows them to be with me also. So yeah, I think weirdly enough, focusing on that has actually helped me professionally hugely.
Yeah. No, I completely relate to that. And I'm the same. I feel like if I can't fully turn up and be present, it actually doesn't serve anyone. And
right.
But then conversely, if I choose to put myself in scenarios where I'm 100% present, then it's blue sky. It's like, you know, opportunities open, people are engaged.
Yes.
And I feel also there's so much more connection, and therefore so much more opportunity that can be realized, or true engagement that then create other unanticipated opportunities by being in that stage. Because I know that from my perspective, when I've not deliberately, but acted how I thought I was meant to be, I was so consumed with that cloud and so consumed of not doing anything wrong, I missed the actual opportunities. I missed the true potential. But without having those shackles, it means that you can actually just be present, and then that's then your superpower.
Exactly right. And then and people can feel it. Like, they have no idea. Like, they would not be able to articulate it, but they'll, like, people can be, like, the right people will be drawn to it, and the wrong people might be repelled by it, but that's actually really good, because if you were being inauthentic and what you should, you might repel these people that, like, take your energy and just like are a drainer to be around. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for me, one of the most empowering things to realize was, I don't care if people don't like me. Like, if they don't like me, it's not a me problem. I've done something to polarize them, and that is actually okay. Because they're not going to be my tribe. And that is completely fine, because either you can work and collaborate, or you, as you say, you repel, but either way, you're doing it in a way which is coming from a genuine base. Well, Bet, we could talk about this all day, but I am conscious of time, so we will wrap for now. But thank you so much for your insights. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope to see you at the webinar on the 18th of October.
Thanks for having me, Sasha.